one big hot topic for women, it just is, and I'm sure for men, but we're women and we're talking from that perspective, right? Is caring for ourselves. And so, Susanna, you had actually said kind of in a conversation, like that word, self-care, 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 it is used a lot now, but I think we have a different perspective as we get older on what that really means and what that looks like, and kind of even a biblical thing from it. One really kind of big impactful thing for me that's made me really want to talk about this is that I was saying to my son, who is 19, man, what I would give to go back to be 19 now, knowing what I know, and do things differently. Mm-hmm. And I got really convicted, and I was like, I'm going to say that. I'm turning 50 this year. I'm going to say that at 70 if I don't actually live by that principle right now. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to be 70 saying, I knew I should have been doing this at 50, but I didn't, because I'm saying at 50, I knew I should have been doing this at 20 and I didn't. And so it's made me really look at how I'm caring for myself and how I want that to look as I get older. And not just to age well, but like how I want that to play out in the lives of my kids and my grandkids and my marriage and serving and loving, and who do I want to be and what does that require? So what do y'all think? Taking care of yourself.
Yeah, I think self-care encompasses a lot of topics. I mean, we're talking physically, but I actually think self-care, especially probably maybe as we get older, I don't know, but it's emotionally, like spiritually self-care. Like you have to, even Jesus went away to be with his Father. So for me, self-care is going to lay on top of me spending time with the Lord. That's just for me. I have to have that as priority number one. And then everything else in my life can lay on top of it. But if I'm not built up emotionally and spiritually in the presence of God, then I don't really have a whole lot to give out, and I'm not really caring for myself either.
Yeah, that's good. Really good. We are, the word says we are a spirit, we have a soul, and we live in a body. And sometimes we tend to like focus all on the body. Maybe in my 20s, body, and then in my 30s, oh my gosh, you have the soul. You better take care of those emotions. You're out of control, and now I'm older, but why can't we do all of it? Like take care of, and so what I would say to my younger self is, it's possible to take care of all three of you, the part that God cares about, every part of you. He wants to be involved in all of it. What's important to you is important to him. And so I would say that to my younger self.
That's good.
Yeah, in my life, again, for me, I usually figure out what I'm doing wrong because it just stops working, whatever it is. And I find my body telling me things that my mind doesn't know yet. Like when I was in my 30s and going through a lot of healing, and I had a lot of learning to do about perspective on life, and realized I kind of looked at it all wrong, even though I love the Lord. And was just working through that. I'd wake up and I can't turn my neck. My back was hurting all the time. My eye would twitch. I got shingles. I just had all of these physical flare-up things. And I'd be thinking, what's wrong? I remember my husband, we were in a certain stressful relational time, and he said, well, how are you doing? How's it going? I said, I don't know. It's amazing. I feel great. And I had a blinding migraine within 20 minutes. I couldn't see. And well, I guess my body is saying, no, it's not actually so great. So actually being able to connect the soul, the spirit, and the body is super important for me. And I still get clues from my body. I think I'm taking care of everything. And then I'm like, oh, this is flaring up, or something doesn't feel right, or why am I so exhausted? Why can't I think? Going back and saying, okay, I need to attend to these things.
I'm sure y'all have heard of The Body Keeps the Score, the book. If you haven't, it's a hard read, but it's worth it. And the whole premise behind it is that science tells us that our bodies hold onto things. And so when we are looking at ourselves as a whole being, body, soul, and spirit. And let's define that. So body is our physical body, but our soul is our mind, will, and emotions.
Yeah.
That's how we would define that. And then our spirit is our spirit man submitted to the Lord, right? So when we're looking at those things as being connected because God brought us, I mean, that's the way he created us. And we focus on one, even if it's the soul. Like back to that point, you know, I did a long time where I was like, okay, I've got to get a hold of my mind, will, and emotions, because that was the part that was kind of screaming really loudly. And I really neglected my body in that. I didn't see it as important. I didn't see it. It's like it ranked the lowest. So spirit ranked the highest, soul being submitted to the spirit. And then somewhere in there would be the body. Well, in neglecting that and walking through the things that we walk through, that actually really deeply impacted my soul and my spirit at a later time. So now here we are, we're walking through this season of extreme trauma and grief. And I just have a totally different perspective about the level that my body is tied to these things and the things that I need to do to be kind to myself. And so where I, you know, blown out both my knees because I insisted on running. Now I'm like, I don't need to run because that was about something totally different. I need to just walk. You know, I just need to be out, and I don't have to power walk and prove that I can walk a 13-minute mile or whatever it is. You know, I'm enjoying the sunshine and it's shining on me. We talked about gratitude in another. That's the time that I spend being grateful. So I'm engaging my spirit. I'm just like really trying to be conscious of all of those things at the same time. I recognize that stress and tension also. So I've gotten hives, or I think I had shingles for a little while, you know? And so I recognize the importance of being in the Word, to your point, of really like spending time and really being at a place of peace and journaling and lamenting and doing what David did and telling the Lord the things that I'm not okay with, you know, and being truthful and being able to say, I don't know about this, God. I thought I had a theology on this, but this is really making me wonder about this, and being okay with taking that to him. And so it now has just become this whole package for me that it just wasn't in my 20s, you know? And I think, again, you know, looking at taking care of body, soul, and spirit, it's also taking that stuff to him. What are you saying? I mean, I've asked him, what should I be eating? Because there's so much conflicting. I mean, I could be on carnivore, I could be vegan, I could be juicing. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, and there's some sort of science to back all of it, right? And someone's going to convince you. The carnivore is going to tell you it's this. The vegan's going to tell you it's that. And you're like, I don't know. Well, I just said, I just need to ask him. What do I need to be eating? And it was very clear. I mean, like literally, I was like, he cares. I mean, he really cares about that. Okay, what do I need to be listening to? And so here we are in this like season of trauma and grief, and all of a sudden I love classical music. I've never listened to classical music. It will make me weep out of this place of like the beauty of the depth of the feeling there. It's ministering to me. I never would have chosen that, but I really felt like I asked him, what should I be listening to? Because I just couldn't engage in some of the current praise and worship. That's not any kind of, like I could 5 minutes before we were going through what we were going through. So it's not a dig on that. It was just like, I can't sing this song. This doesn't mean anything. I don't feel like I'm worshiping the Lord with this, you know? And so, but I can turn on this kind of classical music and then I'm in this place of worship, you know? I've gone for a massage. I mean, even if it's like to a little foot massage place, but I've had someone help me release the tension from my body. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I've been so intentional about asking and then doing. Asking and then doing, and then coming back and saying, is this still the thing? Should I still be doing this?
Yeah, because it changes, right?
It does.
It will change according to what's going on in our lives, where the Lord wants to take us, what he wants to do with us. And so submitting all of that to him and realizing that it is a whole package. It's so great. We can work with the whole package because the body, it lets us know. Just like she was saying, you know, I had the same thing, mid-30s, healing crisis, you know, just all the thing, eating disorders and just all the, because what was the underlying thing? It's either going to be faith or fear. It was fear. The motivator was fear. Now you don't, you were running maybe before, maybe you were motivated from fear when you were running. Maybe now you're walking, which is just as beneficial, and it's faith. and not
Yeah.
fear, you know?
Yeah.
So again, asking God the questions, he's not afraid of all of our questions, right?
Yeah.
And all of our emotions, because there are plenty. I know, being a woman, there's so
And
many.
he created them, so he's not afraid of them.
Yeah.
And we read a book recently, the emotion that we feel is actually trying to tell us something about our body. I just think how quickly that we can get out of balance, especially like trauma comes or stress comes, or and I think for me sometimes it comes with I feel so out of control in this area that I can hyper control this area.
Amen.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
a couple years ago,
Really
we
good.
experienced a trauma, and I felt so out of control and such pain and hurt in that area that I put all my energy to lifting weights and working out. Well, over time, now I got a shoulder thing, and what I mean? Like I hurt, but it was in that moment in time, I was completely out of balance. But because I felt so out of control in this area, and I felt so much pain in this area that if I would just, for me, working out and lifting weights, it was a different kind of pain that I was almost in a very unhealthy way, making my body experience pain in a different way than that. And so, then you overdo it and you get out of balance. So just submitting it to the, I'm gonna cry because I cry.
But it's so good though, Kelly, because what you're really saying is we can even think that we're doing a good thing.
Yeah.
Like we can even say to ourselves and try to convince us like, oh, there's trauma over here. Well, I'm going to do this really good thing and abuse that, because at the end of the day, the issue is not the thing.
Yeah.
It is, where are our hearts and what are we seeking? It's like what I said earlier, it's screaming at you. It's screaming. It's like having a toddler in your lap that's screaming at the top of their lungs when you're going through trauma and pain. And you're like, I just need something to make it be quiet. Is that working out? I mean, there are people that have stories of quitting drugs and becoming super crazy workout people. And I remember saying like, you just switch one thing for another. You just feel better about this one because it is the right, it's good for you. The running thing. I mean, my husband still runs. I think running is great.
Yeah.
For
Doesn't
me,
matter matter with that act, right?
That's
You're
right.
using it as a vice to get away from whatever the struggle really is. And that's why I said it's like a balance. And for me, I have to start with my spirit. Like I have to start with, gratitude and focusing my attention on the Lord. And then everything else has to land on top of that. And submitting your diet or submitting your exercise workout, or submitting whatever it is to the Lord and asking him, what's the best thing for me right now?
Sometimes when you're right, like my spirit is the driving engine for my soul and my body. But sometimes I don't feel like I'm spiritually connecting. And one thing that I've learned to do and I keep trying to do is where do I feel most like it's the easiest for me to connect with God? And you found classical music in this time. And leveraging those things, if it's being outside, if it's being around water, whatever it is, if I can leverage that, then it helps me get over that hump of feeling spiritually dry or whatever it is. And the other thing I was thinking was a big deal for me in taking care of myself has been letting go of comparison with my capacity compared to someone else's capacity.
That's good.
And I may not have the same capacity because we're Westerners, so do. That's what's our value, kind of where we put it. I don't have that capacity to do all of that. Gosh, I can't even think about creating all that stuff that you're doing. And when I get into that negative mental space, it's like, wait, back up. And I love what you said, Lord, what do you want me to do?
Custom.
And learn how to hear him give you that response. Yeah, I think that's great.
I would say too, shame has played a big role. And so all those things that I did early on were also like a little bit of punishment. And so even when I'm asking now, I actually have to say, okay, I want to come to him and I'm going to lay shame down still. Like there's no shame in not running, or there's no shame in whatever the thing is. And I feel like as women, we have this tendency to operate out of that and not even recognize it. Like I do the thing because it's like what we do to keep ourselves in line. So I've really even had to say to him, don't let me manipulate what I think I'm hearing. Do you see what I'm saying? Based on shame. Oh, well, the Lord's telling me no carbs. You know, is he actually telling me that, or am I still trying to like put something on it? And I only bring that up because I think that's been a big wrestle even in this season of I don't have to perform. I don't have to make anything. Like, really, what is he saying? How am I leaning in? And it's always kind and gentle. Yeah. It's always kind and gentle, you know? And so if I'm feeling any other way, then I know, oh, something's in the way. My little communication tube is blocked, you know, with my gunk or whatever.
And that's bottom line, right? Hearing our Creator.
Yeah.
Hearing what He is trying to tell us, not letting anything get in the way of that, you know, because when we function in how He created us to be, whether it's movement or listening or remembering things that He's done for us, then we really are in our true self, right? And we can treat every part of ourselves rightly. But when we're actually fighting up against it, right? Like, oh, I don't want to cry because well, no, He made you to cry, you know? So, you know, and then the movement, like you feel the Lord when you're moving. Like I used to fight that so much, that energy that I have a lot of energy to move and I connect with Him more that way. I should just sit still and be quiet. And it's like, no, if you function in the way He created you to be, then all the other parts will come in line. But and telling that shame to go, or like, oh, I'm deceiving myself in this because I feel like I'm doing the right thing here. God, help me.
Yeah.
You know, because He knows even our subconscious, right? Submitting that to Him, because David said in the Psalm, Lord, search me, know my inward parts. I don't know my inward parts. I thought I did. You know, but
they lie to us, those inward parts. One, I loved what you said, Kathy, even about, you know, so we're asking and we're doing all that, but what feels good and right? Because I was thinking there are probably people who are like, I don't think I hear from the Lord, eat green beans, you know, or whatever. And we're not saying that, you know, we're saying you're silent or you're moving or you're whatever. You're getting before Him. You feel prompted. You do it. And does that bring you peace and joy? And not everything's on feelings. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I do go back to that. But like when I'm spending that time in the sun and I'm walking and I have gratitude, I know it's from Him because it brings such a sense of peace. And my body, you can just literally see like the tension leave my shoulders. I told Casey the other day, I'm like, I can't believe what 20 minutes will do. I can't believe that we spent so many years thinking if we didn't work out for an hour, then we weren't doing something right. Because I have a weighted vest. I put my little weighted vest on, I take my dogs, and I go for 20 minutes, and I come back, and I'm like, I'm a new person. Yep. He used to actually tell me, you're not being very nice, go work out, you know, go whatever. It's just because it does release something in you, you know? And so I think if people feel like, well, I'm not hearing something from Him, because I just don't want to over-spiritualize it, where they feel like it's not attainable. Well, if you feel a prompting, give it a try. Yeah. To your point, movement versus being still. Wow, when I'm still, I don't like it. Okay, well then do something else, you know, and kind of weighing it that way.
Yeah, definitely following the peace, I think. I mean, if you start doing an eating program or a workout program or whatever it is, and there's just not grace on it, not saying you can't, you got to die to your flesh sometimes because, you know, not every day do I want to get up and work out. But if I know that there's peace on it, then the grace is going to be on it to do it. You know, it's like the first of the year, every year in church world, they always say, oh, January, 21 days of prayer and fasting. And I always have to take back that to the Lord. Like, am I doing this because the masses are saying that this is what you do in the church culture is fast for 21 days? And if that's the case, what is it, you know, that you're supposed to fast and all this different things? And I'm like, well, God's not a God of, He's not like trying to punish me.
Right.
So I have to, I'm not going to just arbitrarily do something because the masses are doing it. I'm like, I have to decide where the peace and the grace, because if I can follow the peace, then the grace is going to follow it to actually walk it out.
That's good. Yeah, that is good. I think too, what would y'all say to, okay, so we're talking about, you know, self-care is body, soul, and spirit. How important is it, do you think, with that term is so funny to me even, you know, I'm hesitant to use it and I don't know why. Like maybe I need to have more grace for myself with that. How important is it with self-care, I think, like to have boundaries? What do you think about that? Have you been in a position where you're like, I'm actually not going to be caring for myself if I do this thing that someone's asking me or whatever. So how do boundaries play a role in that?
I remember realizing that I viewed myself as a tool for me, kind of what Kelly was saying, to feel better. If I accomplish this or if I do that, and I wasn't paying attention to that, I was almost objectifying myself. So I wasn't putting a boundary around, am I serving? You know, if people are saying, can you do this? Can you do that? I used to have to back when we had a telephone on the wall. I had
what?
I had cards that I'd written all of these different ways to say no. And thank you
job,
so
you.
much for asking. That's not going to work. Or I already have something scheduled. Even if it was, I need to sit on my couch, and that's what's scheduled for that day. So it came down to the pleasing people, and fear of losing, fear of being alone, and
Fear of missing out.
fear of missing out. Yes.
Saying no to.
That's a big one.
Yeah, it is.
Exactly. Yeah, it was fear and not faith, and it wasn't putting a boundary up.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
And sometimes you can just say no. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to participate in that.
No is a complete sentence.
No is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
Well, and saying no to ourselves also. We want to but I want to.
Yeah.
Yes. And maybe it's like, it's not good for your body today. Or maybe that's not going to be good for your soul today.
Yeah. You know what's been really actually difficult, and maybe this will resonate with y'all. There are things that I love that I've had to say no to in this season. And so with us walking through this season, I'm an extrovert by nature. If you look at I won't bring anything up to cause any turmoil in anyone's heart, but if you look at personality styles, I'm always going to want to be the one at the party and doing the thing. And in this season, I've hardly done any of that. And I told Casey the other day, I'm like, I think my DNA has actually changed because I've just become so aware of what that does to me in the long run. Like if I go and celebrate this birthday, I will have so much fun while I'm there. It's not a bad thing. But it will take me a couple days to recover from the emotional or just brain capacity or any of that. And I have to look at my days and see if I have that. Like, is that okay? Do I have a couple days to recover? Oh, I don't. I can't go to that. That's been a little bit difficult for me because it's not my nature. But I've just realized in this season, these are the boundaries for this season, where I have to have those. And so that's been different. Just to try to figure that out.
You're counting the cost.
Yeah.
What's it going to cost me?
Yeah. And it seems like a lot. And so I'm learning that you have to do that. I don't think I did a good job of that before.
When you describe that, what I heard, it's not self-protection, because you could so easily, in a season that's so difficult, I just need to protect myself. No, I can't. Are these people safe? That kind of thing. That's not what I'm hearing you say. It's what do I have ahead of me? How much capacity do I have? What do you want me to do, Lord? I love that.
It's been very freeing. I think I don't know that I would have been able to do that before, but in this season, I've been able to just be like, no is okay. I feel like I'm pretty good at saying no so no was not the issue for me, but I just never wanted to say no. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if I needed to, I could, but I was like, I can do that. I actually got a word. This guy was encouraging me one time. He was like, you're a plate spinner, like God's made you to like spin all the plates. And so I was like, yeah, I can spin all these. And now I'm like, man, I've got nothing, for that. And so it's definitely not self-protection. Although there have been moments where I'm like, ooh, this environment actually wouldn't be good for me, so I told y'all, obviously, statistically speaking, there's more drinking or drug use or whatever in seasons of trauma and grief. And so I've had to like make decisions based on places and things. Like I know that sounds crazy, but I could be more tempted in this environment. So I have to know what I'm walking into and plan for that and like really, so to, in a sense, self-protect, but ultimately just have a good boundary.
Yeah.
Boundaries are love.
Yeah.